In day one, we talked about the general how to productize yourself, how to start thinking about generating a product idea, your unique mechanism, all of those things. Then we had JK Molina on, who taught us about insight versus value and creating your big idea. So, as an example, Randy Hill, he has the human weapon big idea. That's the overarching like idea behind his brand. That's his mission is to create more human weapons as a fitness coach, right? And that gives people this idea of what they can become. And all of his content, his entire training, all of his future products will revolve around that. And that just gives you, once you have that solidified or at least an idea of what your main idea is or your mission, then becomes a lot easier to create content around that, create products. Another example, Dan Goldfield, who was a student of mine for a good amount of time, he recently came up with one after talking about what I'm going to show you today. After using the AI strategy that I'm going to show you today, he came up with one that was called like your human OS. And he started writing newsletters about how um, spirituality and non-duality. He's talking about it from the lens of an operating system because uh, non-duality, spirituality, all of that stuff can seem very woo-woo, which I know some of you resonate with. But if it seems too woo-woo, then he abstracts out a layer, finds a way to explain it in more simpler terms, like the metaphor of your mind, spirituality being an operating system, and most people are living on the default mode, and they can uninstall apps, reinstall apps, so on and so forth. It makes your content a lot more interesting, novel, unique, etc. We'll learn how to do some of that cool stuff today. But today, we're going to talk about content strategies and main priorities. Then we're going to talk about how to leverage AI, and they should lead into each other quite well. Now, the problem with beginner level or beginner content in general, when you start on social media, I know many of you, whenever I talk to most of you, this isn't going to apply to all of you, but when I talk to many of you one to one, you guys are very insightful people, right? I like to think I am too. We're very philosophical. We like the quotes and the pithy advice and the just philosophical musings and being very clever. We like the clever wordiness. It makes us feel smart. There's something there, right? But you aren't Marcus Aurelius. I'm not Marcus Aurelius. When you get started posting online, a lot of people go like the fortune cookie route. They just start posting quotes, they start posting these deep insights. But the problem here is that even if you are Marcus Aurelius, people don't know that. When I say even if you are Marcus Aurelius, I'm saying even if you are this very smart, this very developed, this very fit, this very skilled person, if you're very valuable, you know you have some kind of value to offer, other people don't know that. So when you start spewing out these fortune cookie level advice or these thought McNuggets, you're not really, people don't know who you are. It doesn't hold gravity when you post it because there's no idea of the person behind the idea. We look at Naval Ravikant, who I like, and we know that he's very wise, that he's built great companies, that he has done these high level things. So when we read his posts, we read it through that lens. We think, like, I read a post and I'm like, damn, that hit really hard because it's coming from someone that I trust and respect. You haven't built that trust and respect yet. So that's what we need to do. You need to become, people need to know you're Marcus Aurelius before they see your ideas as Marcus Aurelius level. Otherwise, they're just generic quotes that people can find on Pinterest and there's nothing special about you, right? So I post right now, at least, I like posting that stuff. That was always my end goal is I like the philosophical stuff. I like the quotes. And now when I post those, since I've built a lot of authority and trust over time, I can afford to do that for the majority of the time, right? You can go to my profile and you can try to copy what I do. Some of it might work, some of it might get engagement. Some ideas are worth copying because if you resonate with them and you wish you wrote that idea and it's true to you, why wouldn't you copy it? What I'm saying is we just need to build a foundation. So, your job as a beginner, when you're first starting, is this is difficult for, again, people like me, being introverted, kind of quiet. I know I'm on social media all the time. I talk in YouTube videos pretty confidently. I'm here talking to an audience of people right now. Um, that's not who I was at the start. I was very quiet. I still am very quiet. I'm just introverted in general, but I've learned to acquire skills that allow me to be more extroverted, right? So your job as a beginner is to just be loud. And that's going to be difficult for you if you aren't used to being loud or you aren't used to putting some oomph behind your ideas or your speaking. So you need to practice it. And the way you practice it is by doing it when it's uncomfortable. So you need to be loud about one, who you are, two, about what you're good at. So people start to get the gist of what you do, what you can help with, even if they can't immediately benefit from it. They know people that can benefit from it and can refer them to you. You have to be loud about your mission and your core ideas. So, what we've talked about, what we'll continue to talk about, and you need to be loud about why you're different. This will make sense when we go over actual examples for how to do this. So, that's the foundation. And let's call this authority content, for lack of a better term. Authority, authenticity, just building the image of you in people's heads so that your other ideas have more impact. That's the foundation. And then you can intersperse growth content around that. So, what I consider growth content is ideas and structures that have the potential to get a lot of engagement. What I mean by that is there are ideas that are evergreen. You talk about emotional management or feeling lost or what people in their 20s should do, or I'm sure you've seen, you go onto YouTube, if you've been on YouTube, you've been on Substack, you've been on Medium, you've been on the internet for a good amount of time, you see a lot of patterns. You see, uh, again, what people should do in their 20s, how to build a business, all of these like surface level base problems that people have, those are evergreen. You can talk about them forever and you can get a good amount of engagement from them just because a lot of people resonate and relate with them or they desire the outcome of those things. So you can talk about any of those if you want, and they may lead to a lot of engagement, but they're not necessarily leading to any kind of authority. Like people aren't going to trust you enough to buy what you sell, reach out to you, do whatever. You're kind of just like, uh, again, their fortune cookie. You're their inspiration account that they follow, but don't really know who you are. They know they could tell the idea if they heard it again, but they wouldn't be able to tell who said the idea. That's the important part. What I mean by structures here is that there are ideas and there are ways of phrasing ideas that tend to work well. So listicles always work. Uh, sorry, I thought I was hoping, okay, you guys can all hear me good. Um, there are things like listicles, which is a structure. So 10 life lessons I learned this year, and it's just a list of 10 life lessons. That can be a long YouTube video, or it can be a short tweet with just 10 short bullet points. There's other structures that go viral all the time, right? You see one person create a certain type of YouTube video, and then other people start to copy it, so on and so forth. So we'll learn how to break down structures and plug in your own ideas, so on and so forth. But that's the gist of growth content. If you want to grow and get engagement, then you kind of just, again, copy what's working. You log onto social media, you see an idea, you're like, okay, that idea is good. I kind of want to write about that too. You write your take on that idea. You see a pattern or a structure that's doing well. You go on social media, see that, you take it, you rewrite it with your own stuff rather than 10 life lessons that I learned this year. You can say 10 life failures that I learned last year, right? It's just little minor changes that give you this content that leads to a good amount of engagement. This is like how you pump your numbers up to an extent, and it's pretty easy because you just copy people. But that's obviously, since it's easy, it's not going to set you apart. It's not going to do too much good for you aside from generate the audience, right? It's going to build the audience, but along the way, you intersperse authority content so that that audience grows to know who you are and form a deeper connection with you. A lot of people just skip the authority content part and end up with a million followers, but no money. Happens all the time. What authority content does is it leads to more clients, customers, and signups. So talking about who you are and what you do. These are important, right? You need to have some kind of like power to be able to influence, to be able to persuade, to be able to help people, right? You need to capture attention of people that you can help. That's a very good thing if you don't abuse it. Now, here, you increase one or the other based on your goals. We could give certain percentages. I could give you like, right, 80% authority content at the beginning, then increase growth content, whatever. Just try them. Try them both. Increase one or the other based on your goals and what your pain points are, right? Trial and error. If you aren't making any sales, then you probably need to bump up the authority content. If you're not growing, then you probably need to bump up the growth content. Also, with growth as a beginner, take into account what we talked about yesterday with making more friends, building that network, being able to reach out to people to help them, to help you share your content, get more eyes on it. Content only goes so far if you can like hit the jackpot with the algorithm, unless you get really good at that and can replicate it over and over. But then that gives you all the dopamine you could ever want, and then you don't want to write authority content because it doesn't get as much engagement and then you feel like you're failing. So you go back to growth content and then you end up with no money again. So balance them out, just be smart. Understand that you have more goals than audience growth, and that as we learned yesterday as well with Randy Hill, you don't need that much followers to earn a pretty freaking decent income. I went to train with Randy yesterday and he was like, I didn't say this on the live, but I hit 92K last month in sales for his coaching. And I'm like, what the heck? That's insane. He had 4,900 followers. Absolutely insane by just promoting and doing this, right? Not overcomplicating it. It's insane. Of course, he's trying to do his best work, but you get the point. Ultimately, you need both of these things, right? Because if you only post authority content, you start to stall out, at least from what I've noticed. Depends on your goals, but if you want to keep going and eventually be able to get out of client work, get out of service work, free up some more of your time, an audience is what allows you to do so. Like we talked about with Justin Welsh and being able to go down a different monetization path. So only sticking to like niche authority content, very powerful, but think long term. Do you want to evolve beyond that? If you want to evolve, an audience is leverage. It's a good way to do that. Now, to solve the initial problem of you're not Marcus Aurelius and you shouldn't just go and start posting quotes that make people feel good. The first content pieces that I think you should write, this is a good place to take notes or come back to after this call and just work on throughout the week. But the first content pieces you should create, these are the ones that like establish who you are, what you do, what you talk about. These are important. Focus on these. Create 3 different iterations of each piece of these content. Write all of these pieces of content and then go back, start over, write them again from a slightly different angle. Just rewrite them until you are sure that people know who you are and maybe you've made your first dollar. If you want, when you're a beginner and you're posting into the void and nobody knows who you are and you don't have a huge audience that's going to catch on to you just reposting the same things, just repost these until you make your first dollar. Okay. This is all you need. There's maybe like 10 here. The first is your core story. This is like the first thing you need to nail down, like Justin said, your founder story. And there's so many different ways to write this. So we'll go over an example. I'll tell you what I mean. In general, your core story is just the big moment in your life where you had the choice to change. Then what that reality looked and felt like so you can relate or other people can relate with you, how it introduced you to your current skill or interest because you want to tie in what you do in some way and why you're here on social media. And then you can sprinkle in lessons or insights you learned. So if you don't know how to write something longer form, you kind of just have a hook and then you have key points. So you can think of the hook as being a combination of the big moment, what reality looked and felt like, the problem, any core and interesting part of the story. And then from there, you lead into the key points. So, where did I start? What was the lesson I learned? What did that lead to? You can map it out, so on and so forth. Now, with this, it's best to exaggerate it and be dramatic because you want to make a good story. You don't necessarily need to exaggerate it, but I want you to like dig deep into the emotion. You're trying to transfer energy here through content. You're trying to make people feel something. And if you're just like running through all of the key points of what happened, you may not accomplish that. So you're trying to make people relate to your story so that they feel a deeper connection with you. And I'll show you this thread that Kieran Drew wrote, but inside of it, you can tag someone who made an impact and promote something. I'll show you what that means. So this is Kieran Drew. He's a writer. Follow him if you want to learn about writing. Very cool dude. I've talked to him a good amount of times, but this is just one of his uh, story threads, and it obviously did very well. One thing here, I hope I'm not overwhelming you when I say this because we're pulling a lot of things together. But once you write your story thread, you have to think of it like a product launch, right? You're launching the thread and you're trying to make it do really well. How you do that is a few different ways because if you just write an incredible thread about your story and you post it to nobody, then it may not go anywhere. The algorithm may not pick it up. Maybe it will on like Instagram Reels, maybe YouTube. You never really know. But that's the thing. You never really know. Do you want to bank on luck or do you want to at least guarantee some kind of engagement? So, in order to do that, you need to talk to more people. You need to talk to people at your level. You need to talk to people that you just find online in general. You need to talk to people a little bit ahead of you. Once you do what we talked about yesterday, then you have this like little network of people. You can start to tell them, hey, I'm working on my first story thread. This is important to me. I'm trying to break into writing content. I know you've done the same thing. Um, when I write it, can you review, can I send it to you to just look at for me? And then you can send them the draft. You update them on your progress with it, see if they have anything to say. And then when you post it, you literally send via direct message to them on whatever platform, right? You can do this on any platform. Just you're probably not going to write a thread. Well, you can. You can do a carousel on Instagram with this, but you can write this type of content on any platform. Then you share it with the people that you've reached out to. And then you maybe have 5 to 10 people, maybe less, maybe more, that are going to engage and they're probably going to share it. And that'll start to kickstart it. And then it may hit the algorithm. It's a much more likely to. And then boom, these bring in, if they actually take off, they bring in a lot of followers. If you nail this first time around, um, I don't want to get anyone's hopes up, but like the top end, you can gain like thousands of followers. I know this guy Simo, Simmo, he wrote a thread, wasn't a story thread, but it was a thread, and it went super viral. He gained 11,000 followers. 11,000. And if he has something to promote, that's and you're good at sales and you have all the skills to take advantage of that opportunity, you promote your product or service, that's $100,000 easily if the offer's good, right? So if you have all of these skills, all of these things in place, like you and you do that once and then you know you can replicate it, like that's where the magic really happens. That's insane. I'm talking big numbers here. 1% or less of people are actually going to achieve that. But still, anything less than those numbers is still a lot of freaking followers and money. So don't sleep on that. With this, he has the hook. We'll actually learn about, we'll use AI to help you understand this more. But he has the hook, pictures that are pretty shocking, right? I broke my neck. That's a big moment in his life. Like, holy crap, that captures my attention. I want to know what happened. And he has x-rays, he has a before and after picture. It's like, wow, this is good, attention grabbing. Okay, I click, I read. He paints a picture of where he was, continues, he digs into what the problem was, where he hits rock bottom, how recovery was. Not gonna lie, he's baking in lessons throughout this. I'll also include a link to this thread in the email I send after, just if you want to reread it again. Has pictures, little physique check, spine surgery. That's crazy. And the thing here is you don't need an insane story to make this work, right? You just need a decent story, a before and after, something, some kind of transformation that people want. Hell, if you became 2x more productive, that's not as compelling of a story, but it's still a story and people can benefit from it. So, crazy story or not, you can do this. The crazy story you have, so the more, I guess, risk you take in life, the more that's rewarded on social media. We're going to talk about how you can do that a different way in the form of a plan and not a story soon. But you can see he goes here, he goes here. And right here, he tags Naval. Now, this is a big shot. The reason he's doing this and why he's saying Naval had a big impact on my story is because Naval has a lot of followers, obviously. And by tagging him, Naval is more likely to see this. If Naval reads this, and either likes or comments or retweets, which since he is busy and values his attention, he may not. Again, this is a long shot. You can tag other people. But if he does that, holy crap, you went viral, right? Literally just by tagging someone. Don't tag everyone and their mother. Be tactical about it, be genuine about it. If someone changed your life, an author, someone who's on Twitter or whatever platform you're using, just let them know. They'll appreciate it, even if they don't like it. And then you're building long-term attention equity. So at least Kieran is on Naval's radar. He may not share this one, but he'll remember him the next time something comes up. So one little tactic you can do there is when you're writing some kind of long and valuable content, tag someone, anyone. It can be 50,000 followers, it can be 5,000 followers. Just start. This is just another way of like showing appreciation to people without having to DM them because you're doing it in public. And this benefits Naval because people are going to click here, follow. There's a lot of benefits in just doing this. It's mutual benefit for both parties. Now he goes through it. He says, come along with me on this journey. People can click this, follow him. And then he promotes a lead magnet. So he has a little purpose workbook. That way he can generate emails from this. So if he has an email list, he can follow up with them. That's where he can promote his products or services. If people download this, maybe he has a welcome sequence in place on the email list that then introduces them to, let's say, his coaching or his course or his physical product or whatever it is that you sell, his software. This is just how you move traffic from social media to somewhere else to make some form of an income. You can also, here, if you have nothing, just tell people to DM you. Tell people to DM you if you want to work with me on XYZ. This is what I do. This is why I think it's important. If you want to work with me, DM me. We'll talk about it. Or if you created a questionnaire like Randy has, and if you don't know what to put on your questionnaire, then you can go to his account, High Risk Fitness, click here. You can use literally just use Google Forms. Don't overcomplicate it. Use Google Forms. You don't need any images here. First name, last name, email, handle, social media handle. So you can DM them after. What are your goals? What are you stuck with? Where are you at? Like in your fitness journey or whatever journey. Are you in a financial position? Because obviously this costs money. This filters out people who don't want to pay. If accepted, is there anything that would stop you? So on, you can just swipe this. It's a basic intake form, right? Then you DM them after, follow up with them, etc. So, and then you can plug the link to that. Easy. Now, we're here. Your plan or mission. Oh, I forgot to mention. So in the email yesterday, I told people to reply with yes, JK, to have JK come on again. He was excited about it, but then he messaged me and said that he forgot that he had to be there for his wife to take her somewhere, so he couldn't come. But he sent me the material, and so I'm weaving some of it in here. So anytime you see a picture of JK Molina, this is one of his concepts or ideas. This is how he gets people. This is how he writes content to land bigger clients. So the first one is your planner mission. So you're just telling people there's two ways to do this. You're telling people what your plan is. So if you don't have experience yet, you're building in public, whatever it may be, you tell people what you're going to do, the entire plan, step by step. For me, I will probably do this at some point, but I'm writing a book right now. I could say, here's how I'm taking this book to New York Times bestseller. Step one, two, three, four, five. Here's how I'm building this software to $100 million. Boom, 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 boom. Or your mission. So let's say Randy, as an example, here's how I'm going to turn, or how would you phrase this in like a compelling way? Something along the lines of like, I've done XYZ. I'm making it my full-time job to help other people become human weapons. What is a human weapon? Someone who is muscular, fast, strong, and whatever other values you have relating to what your mission is, right? And then you start to go in, you talk a little bit about your story, and then you talk about the steps one, two, three, four, five. How are you going to help them? What are the steps to do so? So, what are you here to help your audience do? What are the steps and why are they important? Weave in your own story, emphasize why it's different from what everyone else does. That's the key part, right? So we look at JK's version of this, and he has the plan to make 100K a month profit with 3 hours a day. Now, uh, keep in mind that JK is doing business stuff now, right? He started as a ghostwriter. That was his main thing. He was the initial, you guys, if you're on Twitter, you see ghostwriters left and right. JK Molina was literally the first one to ever do it. He was the person that made ghostwriting both profitable and just a viable business model on Twitter. He was the co-founder of Tweet Hunter, if you didn't know that. And yeah, so he had a lot of success with that. He had a ghostwriting agency, did that for a few years, and then he started another business with another guy, and they started building the agency together. And then that's when he realized, like, ah, crap, I don't want to be in this. Like, this is taking up all my time. The profit margins are low. Why am I doing this? So he had the insight, like, I can probably make 100K a month with 3 hours a day. And that gives him this creative challenge. A lot of people will be like, oh, that's absurd. You can't do that. But if you actually set the goal and try to do it, you're going to do the right things that would lead to this coming about, right? So that's his plan. How is he going to do it? It's like, that's absurd. How are you going to do it? So yeah, exactly what I just said. 125K a month SaaS, 150K a month community with the other guy. It felt good, but he wasn't taking much home. So he's like, I need to strip away all of this. Like just me, 3 hours a day of work, very high leverage activities. Let's make 100K a month profit. That's all I want. I'm set with that. We're stopping there. And that's what he's done. So grow my socials my way. No fancy editing, forced creation. It's like he's already resonating with so many people here that they want to follow and see what he's all about. Invite people every day to join the Like St. Cash newsletter, host workshops, make it easy to buy, grow the Cash Creators community. So he's pretty much like going against what most people do. He's illustrating that and he's creating something that's kind of new, right? A new way of doing things, and people like that. People want to follow that. So he just goes through all the steps, and this is a long form tweet. You could write this in a caption on Instagram. You could copy paste parts of this into a carousel. You can post this as, you can record this as a YouTube video. All content's the same. It's just different ways of structuring it on different platforms. You could even send this as a newsletter, but he's posting it on social media so it can actually be shared. A newsletter If you don't have email subscribers, it's not going anywhere. So post the right things on social media into your newsletter. But that's the gist of it, right? Does he have a call to action? Yep. Straight to clients, a lot of results, cache creator code. He just keeps linking things. He doesn't even have a call to action. He just gets people to follow and DM him. So this works. Talk about your plan or your mission. Now, next is your code. So this is another one from JK Molina. So you create a list of what most people do versus what you do. You talk about it constantly. You emphasize why it's important. You make a good argument and get people on board with it. You have to like be knowledgeable to do this. And then uh, for you personally, right now, write this in your notes and you add to it over time. So this can be written on a physical note. This can be inside of the notes on your computer. It can be anywhere. Just have it somewhere so you can continue to add to it. So for him, at his stage of business, he could have easily done this with ghostwriting as well. But most people are content creators. They do this. This is their behavior. I, or JK, wants to be a cache creator. What's the difference, right? It's just a pros and cons list, pretty much. And then all of these are content ideas. Or it's like the contrast between the two are one content idea. You can post this as an image, which he's done many times. It was actually in that thread of his right here. So he literally just posted it and called it the Cache Creator Code, wanted people to go in, read it. But write these down, and then you can turn any of these into content. So you could say a content creator sells with calls, a cache creator sells without calls, um, and then provide one last line in like a tweet. Okay, what is it? What's like a common? Most people think that they need a sales call to make money when that's not the case at all, right? You're not giving anything away, which is a smart thing to do here. You're not giving people the entire value, like JK said, uh, day one. You're letting people ask questions. You're increasing the engagement of it. You're making people think, oh, okay, this guy knows something that I don't. And that leads to some DMs, that leads to some comments. You reach out to those people, and boom, now you have potential prospects or you have friends, right? Or people who agree with you. And the thing about this is when you talk about any of these things, if you're a beginner right now, you're going to experience some dislike and some arguments, and you grow to be okay with those. And because most people just don't have the full story, right? They're reading 280 characters. That's exactly why you're leaving it at 280 characters so people can inquire with you. Now, the next one, this one is less of like a content piece, although you can write it. One thing I love to do is just create a magnum opus, right? My content that I write, usually a lot of the times it's just ideas that come to mind or an idea that I have, but more of the time it's I have this big thing, right? Right now it's future proof. Future proof, I write that down on the top of a piece of paper. What's everything involved with that? Just write it down. It's AI, it's learning certain skills, it's online business, it's personal branding sometimes, it's maybe software, it's mental resilience, it's a lot of things. And then you write all those things down and then you create this full guide to what it is. What does it mean to be future proof? What does it mean to be a human weapon in Randy's case? What does it mean to be a cache creator in JK Molina's case? So, for your magnum opus, so to say, you take your mission or big idea and you create a full guide on it. This is usually long form. So, there's two different ways to do this. One, it just helps to write this out because then it helps create so much more content ideas and it helps frame what you're here to do. It clarifies the idea for you. But two ways you can do this is you can write it as like a free ebook so people can download it and then you get their email. But on a platform like Substack, you can't. automate that stuff, right? You can't really provide a download. You can't connect with Zapier and automate people into your email list. So if you are using Substack or another form of newsletter or no newsletter at all, I'd probably recommend Substack. And then you write your magnum opus as a newsletter there. You post it. And since it's on Substack, it doesn't really matter if you send it out to a lot of people or not. But then you link to it. Well, actually, first, inside of it, you promote your offers. So your service, your product, whatever it is that you sell over time, and you just link to it. Maybe like maybe two or three times throughout it. So after the introduction, you say, if you want help on any of this, uh, DM me and we'll talk about it. Fill out my questionnaire and we'll talk about it. In the middle, somewhere where it's relevant, do that again. At the end, PS, if you want to work with me on this, DM me on this platform or fill out this questionnaire. Now, how do you get people to see that? Well, you write content about your mission or big idea or anything, and then you just link the magnum opus. And then people go in, they read it. Some of them subscribe. That's how you start building your newsletter. As they read it, and if it's really good, then people see your promotions and then they reach out to you and so on and so forth. So now you have a few different ways to potentially make money. You're writing the content. People who engage, you can message and do what we talked about yesterday. You can make friends, DM people above and below you, and then you can link your magnum opus, and then people read that, trust you more, inquire with you, so on and so forth. Another thing is you can also write this as like a big thread or a carousel or an entire YouTube video. I turn most of my newsletters into YouTube videos, so it's a good way to start. You start off with a bang, your magnum opus, and then you just talk about other topics uh, about it. Like I made freaking 50 one-person business videos after the first one-person business video did really well. So it's like you have this big idea, this mission, you write the full guide, you post it, and then you talk about all of the other nuances going further throughout it. That's like content strategy. Now, the next thing you can talk about, or at least in your first types of content that will probably lead to a decent amount of sales over time or prospects or customers, is just talking about big problems relating to your ideas, your mission, your topic, who you are, so on and so forth, your story. And what this does is it makes people problem aware. So if you don't know, if you haven't studied persuasion or copywriting or sales, there's the five levels of awareness. So there's unaware, so they're not aware of a problem. There's aware, so they're aware of their problem. There's so solution aware, which is they're aware of a solution to solve their problems. And then there's product aware, so they know that there's products out there that can solve their problems. And then there's most aware, where they know all of the above, they just need like the push over the edge. So what you're doing on social media is you're making people both problem aware and sometimes solution aware so that they have this desire to solve the problem. Because if you're not aware of a problem or it's not painful enough, then you're not really going to seek out a solution for it. And once you do know there's a solution for it, you need the higher you get in the levels of awareness, the more unique the solution has to be. So that's why we have the big idea, the mission, the insight versus value, the contrast, right? Content creator versus cash creator, the fitness bro versus the human weapon, the whatever versus whatever. That's where that comes into play. So the problems are more so like seeds where people read it and they're like, okay, that's my problem. How do I solve it? And we're not really giving away solutions here in the examples, but that's why they follow. That's why they engage. That's why they maybe DM you. So one thing here is JK's is very focused and very niche down on service businesses, right? People spend 95% of their time on prospects and 5% on clients and wonder why everyone leaves after 3 months. Only people with decently successful businesses can relate with this, but that's who JK is going after. I put mine as an example here. If I were selling a focused product, right? This is like it did really well, right? Most of them are not going to do this well. I just put this in here as an example that if you have a productivity product, a focus product, something of that nature, you can talk about problems like this and do pretty well. Are you going to land? Um, it's like the axis that Justin Welsh talked about, where if you go large and broad, you're probably going to be able to sell a lot of low ticket courses and ebooks and templates. But in terms of high ticket stuff, you have to get a bit more niche to someone's situation. Not saying that you can't land high ticket stuff with this, but why would you want to or need to when this does incredibly well, right? So keep that in mind is the more broad the problems and topics that you're talking about, the lower ticket you're going to have to go. But that's not necessarily a bad thing because you have so many more impressions, right? So they kind of balance each other out. It's really dependent on what kind of lifestyle you want to live, how much quote unquote fame you want to have, but there's options for both routes. So talk about more problems. The next ideas to write about and the reason I say these is because they help you write better content than just like posting an idea that you liked, right? So, what made the biggest difference for you to get results in whatever your topic of interest is? For me, with let's say I have a writing product or writing coaching or a writing app or writing anything, then I can say the biggest difference or the you can word it however you want, but the thing that made the biggest difference in my writing is being clear, not clever. Cliche, everyone talks about that, but you get the point. You can go a bit deeper there. Micro transformations. So small parts of your story where you solve the problem, right? Your founder story, your big story is your large overarching story of like everything related to the topic that you talk about, why you're here, what you do, who you are. A micro transformation is more so like um, I used to I used to never be able to come up with ideas. Now I can write 1,000 words in 5 seconds. Here's how I did it. Or the difference was XYZ. Kind of simple. It's just a problem that you used to face. What changed? What was the solution? Next, what do you disagree with? So, whatever your topic or interest is, again, think what do most people do and why do I disagree with those things? And you can simply state that disagreement. I disagree that you need or you don't need an English degree to earn a living as a writer. You don't need 2 hour gym sessions to be able to build a jacked physique. All you need is 30 minutes 3 times a week. There's a lot of people talking about that in the fitness space, and that targets a very specific, busy individual. Um, Productivity. What you don't need, you don't need a huge Notion dashboard filled with 8 billion notes in order to be productive. You need XYZ, something simpler, right? Again, people disagree with either sides. That's the beauty of this. What are your extreme beliefs? So this one's difficult. We're going to use AI for this to help articulate them to ourselves. But extreme beliefs are the things that you do or think that other people would think are crazy. And I'm talking about the average person, right? Because other extreme people are like your friends. They're the people you relate with. Like me personally, I walk 15,000 steps a day and that's a pillar of my life. That's very important to me. Other people just think that's insane and that they don't have time for it. And most of you probably don't see that as insane, but that's why you're here, right? That's the entire point is like you resonate with things like that. Maybe not that exactly, but you get the point there. So, what are the extreme things that you do or believe that other people think are crazy? This will take some time to actually ideate and think through because once you do it, then you can question it and be like, oh, that is kind of crazy to other people. The next thing, these are just like easy kind of cop outs that I write about all the time, is just ideas that I wish I wrote. So if I'm learning every day, which I try to at least read or listen to an audiobook or watch a YouTube video on something new. When I'm learning something new or interesting, there's usually an idea in there that I agree with. I have some kind of experience with, so I'm qualified to write about it too. And that just hits hard. And I want it to be under my brand. I want people to associate that idea with me too. So I write about it. And then last, your take on top performing content. This is more of like growth content. So things that probably won't get much engagement, but are going to lead to some followers. Uh, wait, this is going to lead to a lot of engagement, not a lot of signups or sales. So this will like pump your audience metrics, but then when you have everything else that we talked about in place, you nurture them more, you build trust with them more. You're not just building an audience to build an audience like we talked about. The other thing is that you can really make any idea unique by talking about a personal experience with it. So an idea, I have the book Think on These Things from Krishnamurti here. I know there's a section on learning and what true education is. And he talks about education being discovery rather than like memorization and conformity. And so I can take that idea, think about my life. Okay, how did that apply? I learned the most when I stopped trying to memorize facts and started trying to discover something new with an open mind. That's a simple idea, but it's probably worth posting, and I can probably expand on it after I post it. That's the cool thing about writing, especially long form stuff or a book, is that you solidify that thought process in the physical world or digital world, and then you free your mind up to think beyond it, to make it better, right? So if you aren't writing your ideas out, and they're kind of just sitting in your head, you're, I guess, reducing your creativity, or you're reducing how creative your ideas can get or how impactful they can get just because you didn't put the first iteration out because you were trying to make it perfect. So don't try to make it perfect. Uh, did I have examples here? Oh, I had this one. So this was me just linking the magnum opus. But if we go to my profile as well, I actually pin this too. So when people visit here, they go here. And right now, I didn't link any of my products or services in here because my main offer, I don't know if I'd recommend this to everyone. Please take this with a grain of salt. But my main offer is just the paid Substack, right? So I have, uh, if we go to my actual profile, I have paid posts here that I post like 2 to 4 times a month. And that's kind of how I'm monetizing now, but that's for me specifically because transitioning, I'm trying to transition to be able to promote the software more, right? And that be my core offer. So if you don't have a core offer, this honestly isn't that profitable. I'm actually like lowering my income quite a bit by doing this, but I'm just setting a base, right? So if you it's super easy to set up. Like if you want just a paid Substack to be your first offer and you just want to write content and lead people to the newsletters, like I can link people to this paid post and then in my social content. And then if they go to it, they like it, they want to subscribe, they can subscribe. That's a simple way to make money, but Substack takes 10%. It's recurring. There's a lot of pros and cons. So just keep those things in mind uh, because there are other more profitable ways. But if that's what you want to do, do it. And this was just the example of the problem tweet. Now, I'll see if we have any questions at the moment, but we're going to talk about how to do anything with AI. So, any questions related to that? Was J.K. Molina recommending we put the entire 12-page prompt into AI? Yes. And we're going to be putting a lot of stuff into AI right now because you'll see the power of AI more when that. Is Stan equal to Stripe in terms of what they do? My website hosted by Ghost has Stripe built into it. Would I still be better off using Stan? Stan has Stripe built into it as well. So you get paid with Stripe. Stan is more of like a product hosting platform. So you can host uh, coaching calls. So if you just want to charge for one coaching call, they have an offer, they have a product for that. You can host communities in there, although Circle or School might be a better option. Um, you can have digital products, so you can create a course material in there. You can do paid downloads, so you can like put a paywall over a PDF. There's a lot of different stuff you can do. So Ghost, I think I haven't looked into it too much, but I'm pretty sure it's similar to Substack in a sense, maybe with a bit more, where it's like newsletters and articles, but not necessarily paid products, right? I think. So they would both go in tandem. Like if you want to create a, product or a service and charge for it on Stan, then you would still be writing on Ghost, but you would link to your product for people to buy, if that makes sense. In regards to a founder story, if I'm still in the process of developing that, how would you frame posting content? I've heard of people starting to build a following while they are still in the process of solving a problem and documenting it. Um, you don't have to talk, the founder story doesn't have to be like the most incredible thing in the world, right? And you don't have to have it all figured out. You can just talk about your story. Why are you starting to document things? Why are you starting to change your life, right? That makes people want to come and follow along with you. You don't have to promote anything. You don't have to have your offer ready yet. That's all okay. What you could do instead is go the plan or the code route, right? Where you talk about your plan, not necessarily what you can help your audience do, but what you're going to do. And that's very beneficial for you too, because then you have it in public. You have that accountability and you articulate it so it's more clear to you. So you could go the plan route and talk about here's what I'm trying to build, here's what I plan to do. I'm going to document it all here. Follow along. Which email platform do you recommend for sending out newsletters? They all do the same thing. They all send out newsletters. However, I am kind of bullish on Substack simply because they have short form social media baked in where you have like tweets, right? I can literally cross post. I just copy paste my tweets onto here. Well, I copy paste my tweets everywhere, but Substack is a pretty, I would think, viable social media platform now, and it's growing quite well. And it's starting to adopt the same characteristics as Twitter in terms of being toxic here and there. That's just what you're going to get as social media platforms develop, but it's a good platform. And the thing I like about here is that there's actually kind of a social feed for your newsletters. So you could technically get subscribers. That said, you're probably going to grow faster on other platforms, but you can still host your newsletter here and send people to it, right? And cross post. Doesn't take much extra time to do that. I mean, it takes time to write a newsletter, but it doesn't take time to cross post. How do you get the how do you get the balance between writing what you want versus writing what your audience wants to hear? It's a very good question. Usually you want to write about an idea, right? You have this idea in your head, you want to write it down, but in order the entire like it's fun to me to try to phrase it in a way that would benefit other people more or that other people will like, right? So it's not necessarily you're not changing the idea, you're just changing how you articulate it so that people can actually benefit from it. Because the thing there is I see writing as a two-way street, right? Because it's writing, not journaling. They're the same thing, but I think you get the distinction I'm trying to make is when you write, you want other people to like it, right? That's the second part of the game. So it's not if you want to just write ideas that you want to write about, journal, right? Articulate them. If you're trying to do something with this, then you have to play the attention attention game, whether or not they like it. You need to articulate yourself in a way that is impactful. And I think that adds a lot more to the writing. All right. Dan, would you be offering any discounts or rebates on Cortex and your other programs for participants here? Uh, so news about Cortex, if you haven't been keeping up with it or read the emails relating to it, for those here, I'll tell you this is that Cortex is changing completely. If you're a Cortex user, don't worry at all. You'll be able to go over or keep using Cortex if you want, but we're changing to something entirely new. Um, because long story behind it, I'll be loud about it on social media, but we built Cortex in a way where we had this vision for it and we were just moving so slow because of the way that we built Cortex in terms of infrastructure. There were a lot of bugs and maintenance that should have been there because shouldn't have been there because of the way we built it. We built it like a big tech startup. I mean, a big tech company rather than a startup, which prevented us from iterating fast and getting it to a place we wanted to be. And we decided to just rebuild it from scratch. It's a lot better. It's almost ready to go out. To answer your question, um, not for Cortex, simply because we're not making money on that, right? The software side of things with AI baked in, it's the lowest price it can be without us hemorrhaging money and going into debt. We haven't taken on investors of any kind. I've actually lost a lot of my own money for that. So for that, probably not. I can send out a discount to the paid Substack if you want that, which has other programs in there. I'll note that down right now. Those who want it can use it, but let me write that down. Uh, discount for Substack. All right, Angie, you mentioned your 2 hour writer system the other day. I tried to find this and read about it. Where is it? Old newsletter post, product no longer offered. It is on the paid Substack. It's also in the 2 hour writer course, but you can get most of it out of the paid Substack. The 2 hour writer course is on my Stan store or just 2hourwriter.com, like two, the letter two, I mean the number 2 hour writer. Um, but I'm not really promoting that anymore because again, I'm trying to shift towards like being ready for the new software. What if you're in a general field slash mission, i.e., health and wellness, and you have many stories and experiences that have made you who you are today? Would you talk about them all or try to align yourself with one specifically? Well, I guess it depends what you want to help people with, right? Like you can talk about all of them, um, but you also have to think about the impact of the story, right? Are you overwhelming people? Are you including details that don't really need to be there? Can you focus on just one transformation, the problem with where you were, what led up to the change, what sparked the change, where you are now, how you see things differently, et cetera, et cetera? Because if you're helping people with, let's say, just health transformation, um, maybe it's body transformation, mind, diet, something like that, then yeah, it is kind of broad, but that's okay because it's still a very valuable thing to talk about. All right, Tanya, I'm starting a real series documenting my progress during a course I bought online. It's structured by modules. How do you recommend I go about it to show people what I'm learning without copywriting problems? I don't want to put the course out there. I just want to show people what I'm learning and possibly even inspire them to buy the course. Real series documenting my progress. Um, you don't necessarily need to frame it as like you bought a course. It could more so be why you decided to learn copywriting, how you're learning it, the lessons you learned relating to it. Um, you may be overcomplicating it a tiny bit, right? Because you can just straight up teach it. If you understand it, you can teach what you learned about the copywriting. There's a way to frame it that makes it sound as if you're just sharing what you're learning, right? I learned this, or um, this is probably a bad example. You can refine it, but if you struggle to make money, you need to learn copywriting. I learned this tip yesterday and it changed the way I view X. Give the tip, XYZ, about copywriting. This will change everything for you. Like it can be kind of that simple as you start with a problem that people have, you lead into like the frame. So I learned this yesterday and then tell them what it was. And then people either find value in it or they don't. Okay. How do we blend the type of content we post on platforms like LinkedIn to align the audience we attract with our offer? I want to offer premium speech writing and public speaking coaching, but in my 9 to 5, I'm exposed to lots of tech and AI stuff, and I like writing about these topics, which are not aligned with speaking or persuasion. Mm. Um, Talk about both. As Justin Welsh said, just make noise and hone in on signal, right? The thing here is that you kind of have to be willing to pivot towards what the people want. So I guess that's the first question is, do you really want to offer premium speech writing and public speaking coaching? If that's really what you want to offer, then 50 to 80% of your content should be that, and you should brute force your way into it, right? Even you can write about the AI and tech stuff, but even if the AI and tech stuff does better, ask yourself, will you still go the premium speech writing or public speaking route? If so, then you can bake it in occasionally, but you're kind of ignoring how well it's doing, right? For the sake of refining your public speaking and speech writing. If the tech and AI stuff starts doing really well, then it may be wise to consider an offer around that and create something different because that may sell better. But you may not really know until you test, right? So write both, just 50-50 split, try them out. It won't ruin your account. If engagement goes down, it's usually because the content wasn't that good or attention grabbing, or it didn't relate to a problem that most people have. Usually when people start to introduce another topic to talk about, they start talking way too high level about it and they expect everyone to get it because they have the curse of knowledge, right? So they think everyone knows what they do. They don't start at a beginner level. When you start talking about a new topic, you kind of have to start introductory. You have to start with base level problems. You have to work your way up the ladder and kind of write about surface level stuff because social media is surface level. But then you lead people into your newsletter, a free download, a longer form piece, right? Where you start the hook off kind of shallow, but then you show you know your stuff throughout it. So try both. All right, Matthew, how to switch from a niche-based account to a mission-based account. I built a business plus have 40K followers in the niche of mobility training. Cool. Thanks to your videos. Thank you. But I've hit a roadblock and want to start including multiple interests plus creating new products and offers without alienating my audience. I don't think you'd be alienating them, right? Because it de I don't know what other interests and offers you have, but just think about yourself, right? You are the niche, is what I've said before, is like if you're interested in one, mobility training, but you're also interested in business or writing or relationships or spirituality or something of that nature, other people are too. And if they aren't, here's the kicker, is that you just you haven't articulated the idea in a way that would get people interested, right? There is something I can say. This is the fun part of content. I have this weird little idea that I love, this weird little interest of, let's say, biohacking, right? I'm into biohacking right now, but I've never talked about that before. So how would I start it off? I would start maybe with a story of where I was before, where I am now. People can relate with that story. Anyone can relate with that story, not just people who are interested in biohacking or mobility training or whatever. You have to frame it from an introductory level, right? I could, I probably won't do this, but I could say, most people struggle with weight loss, or most people are XYZ. They feel this way, they struggle with weight loss, whatever it may be, common problem that everyone experiences. That doesn't have to be unique. That's what captures attention every single day on social media. You see that content all the time. What's different is how you go about it, right? I could say most people feel terrible, don't have any energy, um, are however much overweight. And then I could start talking about retatrutide. I could start talking about all of these different biohacking things that I'm interested in. I could just talk about regular diet. I could talk about anything related to that, and it gets people interested in it, right? You don't need to throw away 40K followers because that's a base, right? If your content doesn't do well, then you kind of need to just dumb it down more at the beginning, right? Of course, that requires testing, and it is kind of scary because the first video, you probably won't get that much engagement, and you're gonna be like, crap, this was a terrible idea. But if you just stick it through and keep testing, iterating, making things better, it should work, and you shouldn't have to give it up. But, oh, I think you're saying that you want to switch the account, not start a new account. Okay, well, that's my advice. Or you could start a new account and start from zero, but I think you should just keep the account. Okay, can my founder story be the discovery, me being diagnosed with chronic illness and the realization of the value of time when you're being threatened that your time is limited? So I found that time to build a business, 1 hour daily while working a 9 to 5. I'm targeting women over 50 with a demanding job and business and complaining they don't have the time. Yeah, absolutely. That's good. That's a great story. Yeah, I don't have anything to add. Do it. What platform do you use to create your graphics? Do you still use Photoshop? I use Figma. So I'll show you. This is kind of what Figma looks like. It's kind of like Illustrator. So mine's a mess, but I just create frames. I create the text on it. Looks like this. This is actually how I created the, uh, where are they? This is how I created the event slides too. So I just like outlined them all here. We have day one, day two, day three, and I can press this to play them. So yeah, that's what I use. I do use Photoshop for like thumbnails or like raster graphics because Figma doesn't do that really well. Would you be open to sharing your actual process map or workflow sheet so we can study and adapt it to our own business? If we're talking about my business, I can. Depends how you'd want to see it. I don't have it anywhere. Like I don't have a physical process map or workflow sheet. It's kind of just like I know what to do, right? I wake up, I write 2 to 3 tweets, I post those to all platforms. I write my newsletter. I write a section of my newsletter for 30 to 60 minutes. This it's done, right? That's my content in a day. In terms of products, that takes a bit longer to build, but then you just promote them in your content and make sure your content is growing to an extent. So if you have like details of what you'd want to see, I can try to map it out, but I, I I try not to overcomplicate it. It's just all in my head. And it's a habit by now to just wake up in the morning and do it. If you are focused on helping people that are not beginners, how could you get more eyes on the content? Good question. Well, you don't necessarily need to get more eyes on the content, uh, but it depends on who, like how advanced are you going? Because you do need to get in front of them some way. But the way that I like to think about it is, let's say we're talking about business, right? It's just easy example. Your super advanced topics are like at the top here, very small portion. Then you have your beginner topics down here. But the people who are interested in the advanced topics still benefit from the beginner topics, right? That's how they're going to be introduced to you is they're going to see you and they'll be like, oh, okay, he's talking about business. I like business. This is actually good insight. I'm going to follow him. And then when you release the advanced insight to an audience of people you've already built, some of them are going to see it. And even if people aren't a big, I mean, even if people are beginners, they may know someone who's advanced and will share your content with them. So that's why you kind of strike the balance between both growth and authority is so that your audience grows, so that you have more people who can share your stuff, so that you have more surface area to find the advanced people. So it's not that you have to go all in on this advanced content, but you also don't have to go all in on the beginner content. You just have to be aware that the advanced content probably won't get as much engagement, and that's okay. That's by design. But the beginner content is what's usually going to bring more people in. And then if you ever want to release a beginner level product, that's another revenue stream. So win-win. All right. I have an e-commerce product, physical mobility. Physical mobility, good that's used by a very niche audience that I've been selling with some success for the last few years. But I want to transition into writing about the bigger picture, fitness, training, nutrition, and broadening my audience. My e-commerce product is applicable to more than just a very niche audience. Is there any way to do this elegantly without people going, what the fuck is this guy doing? FYI, Dan, since only you're seeing this, I don't know if you, I won't read this if you don't want me to, but what I think either way, they're the same niche, right? People who are interested in mobility are interested in fitness, training, nutrition. It's just a matter of it's on the content level. That is what makes the content do good. If you talk about nutrition in a way that grabs the attention of the people who are interested in mobility, then it works out, right? It's still the same niche. You're just going a bit broader and you may get even more engagement. You don't really know. But again, test with that, give it some time, some iteration. You don't need to post your first content and expect it to do as well as all the other ones. Uh, but it's the same domain. I don't think you're going to have too much of a problem doing that and expanding into uh, something broader. If I have multiple interests I want to talk about, would you make a priority for one thing that can make you the most money first? Go a bit niche, like Justin Welsh talked about. Then after I grow a bit, expand what I talk about, or general thoughts about how to go about multiple interests. Um, can you find a through line? Can you find the mission, right? So I have all of these different interests. I have business, obviously, writing, um, fitness, mental stuff, philosophy, almost everything. I like everything. I can get interested in everything, and so can other people. But what's the through line? Like, what am I actually trying to accomplish here? What am I trying to reach? For me, it's future proof or it's human 3.0, like trying to maximize all domains of my life. Other people can resonate with that, and all of my interests can fall under that. So it's like you're not necessarily like niching down into one little unique topic. You're more so creating this big umbrella that is niche, right? It's unique, it's novel, it's only you that's doing that thing. Future proof, human 3.0, whatever else I've talked about. And then other things fall under it. And now all of your content has a through line. So you can talk about them all, but some of them are going to lead to more money than the others. And it's okay if like like 50% of your posts just don't lead to anything. That's kind of the entire game. Usually it's the 80-20 rule. 20% of your content is going to lead to 80% of the results. So your job is to like experiment with things until you can narrow down, okay, what are the 20% of things that do really well? Bake those in consistently. And then when those are kind of a system, kind of habit, you talk about them often, then you can just start talking about other things and see what does well from those. And then if one does really well, then cool. You bring that in to the rotation of topics that you talk about consistently. So you have the core foundational ideas, and then you experiment so you don't get like trapped in that. And you just like rotate things in and out over time. And That sounds like it's super systemized. Like I have this just like list and like process of doing it. It's kind of just mental, right? You look through your past content, you see what did well. Okay, I should write about that again, and so on and so forth. You kind of, once you get the content flowing, it kind of just happens naturally if you're trying to talk about more things, reincorporate what works, so on and so forth. Do you have a plan to grow at this magnitude on social media? Kind of everything we've talked about. There's no like, I'm sure there's a course out there where like someone has a really good strategy for how to grow, but then again, that's just a tactic, and this is social media, and you're going to run it for a bit. It may or may not work, and even if it does work, it stops working after a certain amount of time. So it's just like just continuously iterate and do the things, the foundations, the principles. Like I used to do the animations on Instagram and that blew me up like crazy. And then they just stopped working and I started losing followers. I still lose maybe like 40,000 followers a month and I have to try to outpace that. Yes, 40,000 followers a month. Um, okay, I'm reading through these. I do want to touch on some AI stuff and questions are starting to pile. So I have it marked where we were. We're going to talk about some AI stuff because uh I don't want to go too long over, but we'll get back to those. So, how to do anything with AI. And this will be helpful because it's going to help us implement kind of everything that we just learned, right? I want you to go in with this frame is as I'm showing you some of this stuff, I want you to think about what we've learned throughout this entire event. And I want you to think, oh, okay, how can I do this with what we're learning? I think that'll make sense. So, the first thing you need to do anything with AI is you need to understand that AI is not just a chat box. It's not just a thing that you ask questions to. It's a literal programming language for language. You tell it what to do, and it does it in the form of text at the moment, sometimes code. It's getting better at images. It's getting better at whatever it is. So that means that the quality of the output of the AI is dependent on the quality of the instructions that you give, right? So, from JK, if you looked at JK Molina's prompt, someone asked, do we paste this whole 12 pages in here? And it's like, yes, because he's literally providing the instructions to the AI. And if those instructions weren't there, then it wouldn't get as good as a result. So, examples here is like this YouTube video, how to build a profitable personal brand in just 30 days. Now, people see AI as this like all-seeing overlord that can do anything for you out of the box. But if I were to ask it to help me build a personal brand, just think about it. How many ways to build a personal brand are there? How many good ways are there? There's tons. I have my own way. Matt Gray has his own way. 1,000 other people on YouTube have their own way. How is AI going to pull from all of those and come up with the best one? It's not going to be able to because one, it doesn't have the context of who you are unless you give it to you, unless it gives it to you. Two, it hasn't gone through, it hasn't had the experience. It hasn't, the AI, ChatGPT, doesn't have a social media account where it's testing and iterating on this content, right? Social media and culture and content, it changes, it flows. Like there are just some things that you just can't ask AI for and get the best response out of the box. You'd be better off watching this YouTube video from Matt Gray rather than asking AI how to build a personal brand in just 30 days. Now, well, that's the other thing. Everyone has their own methods, right? Alex Hormozy has a content system that works for him. And if he were to just ask AI, hey, handle all of my content for me, his business would die, plain and simple. So would mine because you're stripping the business of the edge, which is the person. So what you can do here is you can combine the two. I can take the transcript from this video from how to build a personal brand in just 30 days. I can feed it to AI, and now the AI has the knowledge of Matt Gray And before, in let's say Media 1.0 or 2.0, you couldn't uh you can't hire Matt Gray without physically paying him a lot of money to mentor you. Same with me to an extent. But if I take this, how to build a profitable personal brand in just 30 days, and I feed it to AI and I say, hey, create a detailed master plan for how to build a profitable personal brand in just 30 days based off of the transcript from this video, that's a much better output from the AI. Now you have a source of instructions that you can turn into a prompt. What can I turn that into? I can turn it into a coach. I can say, hey, I want to create a prompt that uh, coaches me to build a profitable personal brand in 30 days. Use this source of instructions from Matt Gray and create a prompt that I can check in with every day, share my content, you give me an actionable strategy, and that's how I'm going to build a personal brand. Now you have a personal coach, right? So that's one example out of many, many, many. The other thing, if I want to create a focus coach, what if I want to create a study partner? What if I want to create an offer, right? If I want to create an offer, I can ask AI and that'll probably give me some good stuff. We're actually going to do that one. But I could also feed it the PDF from Alex Hormozy, $100 million offers, a proven way to create an offer. And then I can say, give me a detailed guide on how to create a great offer. It's going to break down what's in the PDF, give me a guide. I can turn that into a prompt. Then it can interview me, or I can tell it to interview me on everything that it needs in order to turn what I have into a great offer. And then it spits out your offer. And now you have an offer that's 10 times better than anything that you could do on your own. And you're much more likely to make a lot more money. Uh, so we'll just start going over examples. So the thing here is you just need a source of instructions. And the few ways you can do that is if the knowledge is already well known and it's kind of general, or you know exactly what you want, then you can ask AI for it and you can get it to spit out the right instructions. Second, you can just reverse engineer your own process into a list of steps. So for me, I have a specific way that I write tweets. I can reverse engineer how I personally write tweets. I can teach AI to do that. I've tried this. It still isn't there, but it's good at giving you ideas, not necessarily writing for you. I actually don't recommend having it write for you. But just as an example, I can break down things that I've done and then teach that to AI. Other thing, you can find a YouTube video or a PDF that has the instructions of what you're trying to do. If you're trying to write um, sales copy, like a promotional email to pitch your product or service, you can go and download Breakthrough Advertising, which is a well-known copywriting book. You feed it to AI. Hey, break down all these principles. Okay, let's turn it into a prompt. I'll give you my offer, and then you spit out a first draft of copy, copywriting, sales copy, and then I can refine it from there. Boom, probably better than what most people would be able to write without copywriting knowledge, right? So you don't need to go and learn that stuff anymore because that isn't your main interest. And the other thing here is that as a one-person business or as someone who's just starting out, you don't have ten to $20,000 to spend on the greatest copywriter in the world. The greatest copywriters in the world have written books, and now you can employ them if you know how to use AI, right? That's the power of this. Now, the second thing you do is one, you have the source of instructions because you're trying to teach AI. The second thing is you're going to either ask AI everything it would need to know to do this for you, or you just have to think through, okay, what am I going to feed the AI to get the results? Like for an offer, let's say I have AI break down what's in $100 million offers, give me a guide, and then what does it need from me? So I can literally type to AI, what is every single thing that you need from me in order to create a great offer? And then it's going to give you a list. It's going to say, well, I need the idea for your product. I need the price point. I need the potential risk reversal. I need every part of it, right? So now you have two things. You have the context, and then you have the instructions. And when I feed that or create a prompt from it, I can do it in two phases. So the prompt is going to ask me for all of the information it needs, because how else are you going to create an offer or copywriting or tweets or anything? And then it's going to take all of the instructions on how to create an offer and put all of that together into whatever it is. Now, how do you put these two things together? You use a prompt to create prompts. So most people don't study prompt engineering. Most people don't know the start of it. They just think like, oh, okay, I need to write a paragraph into AI and tell it what to do. And then they may get some good results depending on what they're working on, but most of the time it's disappointing and they don't see the real potential of what they can do. My throat is getting dry. Okay. So what we can do here is I have a prompt to create prompts. And in general, it just, well, let's just look at it. Many of you probably already have this. I talk about it all the time in my newsletters and other things like that, but the little greatest thing ever out there. This is the most incredible document. Like, I wish I could charge for this, but I don't think that would be ethical because this just like is incredible. So what you do whenever you want to create a prompt relating to anything is you just paste this in first, and then it'll ask you what kind of prompt do you want to create. And then that's when you start feeding it the instructions. So what you want to do, and you guide it on what kind of context to create for you. So I'll share this in the chat. I'll also share it in uh, everyone. Okay. There's the prompt. Nice. We have a party going on here. Uh, but yes, so this is the prompt. What we're going to do, I have notes over here so I can make sure I do this right. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to do something really unique. We're going to create a thought partner for everything that we just talked about today, right? So for creating content, because while the second thing we'll do is we'll learn how to teach AI to write something for me. Um, but let me actually close that. So we could go in here and we could take everything that we just learned about all of these different content types and we could like teach AI how to write them. And that'll kind of work. I don't recommend it. Please don't do that. We're going to try to use our brain with AI here and not let it atrophy. I'm going to write a newsletter about that, about how AI makes you dumb when I don't think it does. But yes, so we'll do this second. We'll break some tweets down and learn how to teach AI to write them. But right now, what I want to do is something very simple. So let me make sure I have this. We're going to take all of these things and we're just going to turn it into a thought partner prompt so that when you talk to it, um, you give it an idea and then it's going to like shine, it's going to give you potential ideas based on these things that you can be writing about. Now, I haven't fully done this, so I don't know what the quality of it's going to be, but we're going to try live. So I'm going to take the entirety of this prompt. I'm going to go to Claude because I like Claude. You can use ChatGPT if you'd like. Eh, it works, but I'm going to go Opus 4.1. Sonnet 4 also works well. I just like using the top model, but I'm going to paste this. And what I can do here is turn on extended thinking. So this turns on the reasoning mode, right? Because I want the best output. I actually don't know that if this is best practice, but I feel like I get better outputs when I do this. So I'm just going to paste it in. You can do this in ChatGPT 2. I believe GPT-5 automatically reasons. It just, you don't get to choose it, which I don't like that. But we hit send and it's just going to say, what kind of prompt do you want to create? What is the topic or role? And now, if you already have an idea of a prompt you want to create, you can just start typing it out. I want to create, actually, one good tip here is let's say I want to create, we'll do it about a product later, but I want to create a digital product. One thing you can do here, because a lot of people, like if you don't know exactly what you want to do, they'll just hit send here and then they kind of like castrate themselves in terms of the effectiveness. They aren't very specific. So what you can say here is um, before you continue, clarify everything you need to know uh, so that you can create the best digital product. Um, be comprehensive. So that way now it'll come back with questions and it will give you probably with this, because I want to create a digital product is so broad, it's going to come back with like uh 10 questions, maybe more, and then you answer them thoroughly, and then you get a prompt that is a lot more better. But we're not going to do that right now because we have a better way of doing this. Now, I wrote this out before because I don't want to waste your time, and it's actually pretty long. Does it paste? Yeah. Okay. So what I did is I said, I want to create a prompt that acts as a thought partner. Simple. Your goal is to help me spot patterns that I couldn't see myself after I give you a topic I want to explore. Your role is to act as fresh eyes that mines for these ideas as we have a conversation. I've written a thought partner prompt before, so this is something that I've done. But remember that AI can be an iterative process. The output doesn't have to be the final output. You can prompt it to refine it over and over again. But what I did here is I went through everything we talked about, like all of the different content types, aside from like my story or my plan or other things. But I said, look out for micro transformations. I described what those were. I said ideas that made the biggest difference in getting results. These are the ideas that would help other people get the same results without the noise. Things I disagree with relating to the topic, how most people do it versus how I do it or think about it, my extreme beliefs. So we're trying to have it surface those polarizing beliefs that the average person would think are crazy, but they hold truth. Let's give an example. I walk 15,000 steps a day, and many think that's unreasonable. We'll just leave it there. AI will get the point. My take on popular way of thinking about a topic, things that I see but others don't, how I would reframe how people think about the idea, insight from value. So what J.K. Molina was talking about, take actionable processes and turn them into an insight that makes people desire the process. Big problems that many people struggle with that I can help solve with potential solutions. So big problems. Then more things like novel concepts, perspectives, or paradoxes like the one person business, the human weapon, and proof. Do I have any real world case studies, so on and so forth? Ask me one question at a time and build on the previous answer. Challenge generic claims until you find specific and memorable ideas. Don't compliment, just observe, challenge, or dig deeper. When you spot potential ideas, make them known. Keep the conversation natural. So, still have extended thinking. I'm going to hit send, see what it comes up with. Okay, so it clarifies a few things. Sometimes it doesn't do this when I don't have extended thinking on, so that's why I like to have extended thinking on, is it will dig deeper and make sure the prompt is really good. So, one, depth of challenge. When you say challenge generic claims, how aggressive should the challenging be? I'm just going to say very aggressive. Challenge it the most so that I can get the best ideas to write about. Pattern recognition output. When the thought partner spots these patterns, would you prefer them to simply flag them in line? Both. Those both sound helpful. So it clarifies and helps me come up with things that I may have missed that make it better. So here it's like, do you want me to just tell you what the idea is in the response or collect and summarize them over time, which is helpful because then I have all the ideas there. Three, conversation boundaries. Are there any topics or areas where you'd want the thought partner to be more careful, or should they probe everything equally? Oh, no. Probe everything equally. End goal. After mining these insights, is the ultimate purpose to help you create content, develop frameworks, or something else? This might influence how the thought partner frames discovered patterns. Ugh. Sometimes I don't like telling it that I'm wanting to create content because then it like starts to get a bit corny because then it pulls in like its information about how to create content. But I'll say it anyways, create content. I'll just say and develop frameworks. Okay, I'll send that. All right, so now it's writing. Another thing you can do is this will probably output some code. So I just tell it to rewrite it as Markdown so that it copies well over into like a Notes app or Google Docs. Oh, it didn't do that. Okay, cool. So now I can copy this, I have a cool prompt, and I can start testing it, right? Because we don't know if this is going to be like really good out of the gate. So I can paste it here, remove this last part because it just says this prompt is blah, blah, blah. Can remove that part as well. And we don't really need extended thinking now, but let's just test this and we'll go on to the next example. What topic do you want me to explore? Give me the version you tell people at parties. Interesting. So let's say my main topic, or you could say like whatever your mission or idea is, but main topic is I want to talk about writing because it is an incredible skill. Cop out answer, it could probably be better, but everyone says writing is incredible. What specific result did writing create for you that nothing else would have? Give me numbers, not philosophy. So it's asking for specific results. I'm going to skip this. I don't have specific results. Okay. What? Then why are you wasting time talking about it? Jeez. What's the real reason you picked writing? The selfish, uncomfortable truth you don't tell people. Ooh, I wanted to start writing because I didn't want to show my face online. Well, not my face. I was afraid of speaking to a camera. That's a good insight already, right? Good starting point for some piece of content. Contrarian position detected, using writing to hide from visibility. So you chose writing as camouflage. What happened when you realized the best writers become more visible than video creators? Interesting. So you get the gist here, right? This is like a unique way of coming up with content ideas without it having it write it for you. I could also say, generate me like take this article and generate 50 content ideas based on it. And that works. Like, right? But that's what most people think to do. What you can do instead, and if you want, um, I'll share this prompt as well later on, but you can just keep having a conversation with this. We only answered two questions and I copped out of one. But the more you converse with this, give it like 10 minutes, you'll probably have a lot of good ideas to write about that are aligned with the types of content that you should write. And the thing here that I'm already noticing in myself is like I have the curse of knowledge, right? So I hear this of I wanted to start writing because I didn't want to show my face. And I think, well, I've already talked about that before, and other people have already talked about that before. But it's a good idea. I know that. I like when other people talk about it, so I should get myself to write about it. If I wanted to here, I could say like, I don't like, how about this? Give me three tweet variations of how I could write about the idea of not wanting to be visible. This is going to sound like AI so much. If it has one, it's not this, it's this. Okay, being disobedient. I'm not here to write your tweet. Okay, we'll move on, but this is a good thought partner thing. Okay, the next thing I want to show you is going to be very similar. But what we're going to do is I'm going to show you like how can we learn how to write growth-oriented tweets, right? So that one can help with generating ideas for authority tweets, but for um, what is it? Growth tweets specifically, the best way to do that, in my opinion, is as so. So you can go on any platform. Usually I like to go on Twitter because it's easier to find ideas that are the best, where I can go to advanced search. So I can go, well, what you do here is explore, remove this. I just type something so that I can get to this. So type something, hit enter right here, advanced search, and then I can go down at from these accounts at the Danco or any account that you want to find their top tweets. Remove those. You can change like minimum amount of likes, minimum amount of whatever. I like to filter by dates and I'll go back like a year. So say May 2024 to June something 2024. Search. And it usually tends to show the highest engagement tweets first. So the thing about something that's high engagement is that usually they're validated, right? Usually the idea and how it's written is pretty good. So I want to take something like, I'm going to take something a bit longer. Let's take this. Okay, so we have a tweet. We're going to go to Claude and I'm going to say, I actually wrote this down as well because it helps. I want this to be spaced right. I actually don't think it matters. So we have a tweet here and copy pasted this, but it's pretty simple. So break down the structure of this post so that I can recreate it from scratch. Break down why it works, the psychological patterns involved, what context is needed from me, and anything else I would need to understand how to recreate it. So we'll do that. And now, why is this better than just writing the tweet itself? Because one, it teaches you how to write it, and you can do this with anything. I remember seeing a landing page one time that I really liked. It was really good. The copywriting was amazing, but I didn't know where to learn it. So I literally just copied the entire landing page. I said this, break down the structure of this landing page and so I can recreate it from scratch, blah, blah, blah. And I pasted the landing page and then it broke down the entire structure. And now, as I mentioned in the slides, we have a list of instructions, right? So I have this for one of these tweets. So if I want to recreate this tweet, then I can. But let's actually do a few more. So let's go to, uh, we don't have to do all my tweets. Who do we like? We like Zach. And a little tip here is that I have Super X. Sometimes this works. It's called Super X. If you type that in on Google, whatever, it'll work. But sometimes this gets all messed up. But what this does is it shows their top tweets. Tweet Hunter X was also another one. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. They're just a Chrome extension that shows the top tweets. Most of the time, yeah. So let's see. 37,000. Okay. We'll take this one. And what I'm going to do with images is if you're on a Mac, uh, actually, can Claude read this? I'm not sure if Claude can read this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to save image, save to my downloads, tweet one, and then you won't be able to see this, but if you open the tweet up on a Mac or on your computer, you can just copy the text from the image. So I can go here and then I can paste it. And now we have the full tweet. And I can come here, copy this, or I'll just say, do the same thing with this. Now we'll wait for that. Okay, so it breaks it all down, why it works. Beautiful, beautiful. So, I mean, I'm assuming you can already see why this is better, but a lot of people will just come in and be like, write a tweet for me on whatever, how to live a meaningful life. And it will come nowhere close to this. And it won't even give you anywhere close to this depth. It won't even think about any of this stuff. So what we're doing here is we're creating the list of instructions so that we can provide the specific context to AI so that it doesn't go off and do all of this crap that we don't want it to do. Now, let's take one more. You can do this from any platform, right? I'm assuming you follow people. It's actually a wise thing to do to save posts to your swipe file, whether you want to just steal the idea or do something else, whatever it may be. So, who's another person? Uh, let's do JK. Let's look at one of his top tweets. And remember, we're doing this for growth tweets, but you can do it for any kind of tweet. This one is actually good. People in third world countries spend their days talking. It's a contrast tweet, right? So this doesn't have to be people in third world countries or people in first world countries. This could be content creators versus cash creators. This could be who you were before versus who you are now. Um, so let's go to back here, do the same thing again with this, paste that, format this just in case. Okay, so now we've done that 3 times. Pretty good, right? You'll learn a lot just by reading this, right? Again, with the people think that AI makes you dumb, when I'm learning more than I'd ever learned scrolling on social media by breaking down posts here. And yeah, I could try to come up with this stuff by myself, but if I don't have education on psychology and other things that may or may not work, like I may not be able to come to all of this, then I start to understand, okay, this is what really creates engagement and it starts to seep into my own writing. But now what we're going to do is I'm going to say combine all of these into a guide. Let's just say a singular guide. So it's going to write those all out. 3 archetypes. That's sweet. Ooh. I haven't done this before, by the way. This is just cool. Okay, we're actually going to do something really cool with this. So we have a guide, a list of instructions that we can then feed to AI to turn into a prompt, but we need one more thing. Your recreation framework, select your archetype. Okay. Got it, got it, got it. Hurry up. I'll start typing this anyways. From that guide, what is everything you would need from me in order to start writing tweets? I don't know if we need this actually. I'll send it anyways. But now this is going to give me the context. And this just helps me understand, like, okay, how can I turn both of these into a prompt? Because I need to be able to tell the prompt something. Like it needs to be able to interview me and get the context from me, but it also needs to be able to turn that context into the actual posts. Oh, okay, this is long. We're not going to use this, but I'll tell you where we could have used it and I'll leave that up to your own experimentation. But what we're going to do now is we're going to keep this in here safe. We're going to go back to create great prompts. We're going to copy that over. We're going to go to Claude. We're going to create a new chat, paste. I'll leave extended thinking off just for the sake of speed. What's the topic or role? I'm going to go, is this it? Yeah. Okay. Now we're going to take this. So this was the list of instructions on how to write the 3 tweets. We're going to go back to the other chat. And I want to create a prompt that helps me ideate uh, social media posts based on the guide for writing posts below. Uh, Structure this prompt in 2 phases. Phase 1, context gathering. What do we do? Interview, interview me for the ideas that I want to write about. Phase 2, let's say post writing. Write 3 variations of posts using, write 3 variations of each type of post using the ideas that I gave you. Here's the additional context. Paste, send. So now this is going to create a prompt that'll help us ideate viral tweets based on the 3 things that we talked about. So, or the 3 tweets that we broke down. Oh, that's cool. It's actually really cool. Okay, domain and expertise. What area of life or work do you want to address? Audience pain points, your unique observation, transformation vision, personal connection. So it pulled from each of these types of tweets and it brought up like, okay, what are the key things that these tweets are talking about? And it's one, obviously, expertise. Okay, pain point, observation for the patient observer post, transformation, probably for the dramatic profit post, personal connection for maybe the quiet devastator posts, optional. Now, this is going to be longer. It's going to take a bit more time, and we're running out of time. So I'll send this prompt as well. After you can try it out, but I think you're getting the point of what we can do here. Now, one other thing that we can do is let's go back to the create great prompts. Actually, we don't need this. I'll just show you what we're going to do. Okay. Uh, give me or give me a detailed guide on how to create offers like Alex Hormozy. We'll keep it that simple, right? So I'm not asking for how to create an offer. Like, how do I create an offer or create an offer for me? I'm asking from a specific person who I know has done it very well, right? So it spits out this guide. And then what I can do is I can take this guide because I'm constraining the context to something specific, right? I'm just keeping it to this. I'm not letting the AI do whatever it wants because frankly, I don't trust the AI doing whatever it wants. I know that this works. I take this, I paste the create great prompts prompt, and then I say, I want to create a prompt that helps me come up with my offer. Phase 1, interview me until you have enough context to create my offer. Phase 2, use this guide to create the offer and then paste this guide inside of there. Then it creates the prompt. You send the prompt. It asks you, okay, what's your product? Do you have anything for a risk reversal? Do you have a dream outcome? If not, okay, I can just type in, I don't have a dream outcome. Help me come up with one, so on and so forth. The next thing, and where you can really start to see this power and to finally get to the point where someone asked yesterday, Dan, I have a service. How do I turn it into a product? Well, I can say, let's have a small conversation here. What are the best ways to create a cohort-based course that maximizes impact and retention? I want it to be useful. So I'll send that. It could be a cohort-based course. It could be a physical product. It could be whatever. Core design principles, transformation, not information, design for active application, build in accountability layers, cap enrollment strategically. So this is less about like this is you'll see what I'm doing here. I'm not taking this in its entirety. I'm reading through and I'm seeing if I agree with things. Okay, it's not actually talking about building it out. I want a detailed guide to building out the curriculum and structure of the cohort itself with my material. So I'll send that. Transformation arc, so on and so forth. Okay, we got all of this. Good, 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 good. Now, what I could do here, now this is a cohort-based course, so this is like a bit off because you have like that's not just a straight ebook or a straight whatever it may be. So I can copy all of this, do the same thing, create a prompt out of it, and tell it I want it to coach me to building a cohort-based course with this specific offer that I have, or whatever it may be, right? So over the next however long, we're gonna talk back and forth. You're gonna be my project manager. You're gonna be uh, my fresh eyes. I'm going to send you what I do. You're going to grade it. You're going to help me make it better, so on and so forth. And then that's kind of like how you build it out. Um, and there's just so many different things you can do with this. With an ebook specifically, I can type in here, what is the best way to write an ebook that is attention grabbing, so on and so forth. And it's going to give me some kind of framework to use. And then I can put that into a prompt and I can say like, I want you to help me flesh out a detailed outline of my ebook or course or even coaching program. How do you structure a coaching program? Ask AI. For an ebook, I want to create an outline using my own ideas. Help me do that. Let's just talk back and forth. I need to give you everything I need to know, and we're just going to walk through the outline chapter by chapter until I have a fully fledged outline that I can go and take and write myself. So if you don't know how to do something, anything, just think through the steps that we talked about here. Like when I say you can do anything, you can do anything. How to do anything with AI. Source of instructions. You can ask AI. You can put a PDF in there. You can find a YouTube video, pull the transcript. Think about the context that's required. What does the AI need to know from you? Usually, if you don't know what this is, you can just ask the AI for it. Use a prompt to create prompts, and then tell it the prompt that you're trying to create. And you can create various types of prompt. You can have it do it for you. So you can have it write the tweets. You can have it coach you through building a personal brand. You can have it just create your offer. You can have it become a thought partner. You can do anything you want to do, right? That's the beauty of this is like you can literally program a text-based software to help you do what you want to do. Really cool. So I'm sure we have questions and it'll take some time for those. So I'll stop sharing so you guys can see me. And All right. We have a lot. Let's start back where we were. I'm starting a product-based business. I'm unsure whether to start my social accounts under my brand name or personal name. I recommend personal name always because it's more personal. People feel that. Um, what you could do is you start as a personal name, and then you say that you are building the company. You can have both social accounts, but usually you're going to post personal content through a personal account, right? A brand name or a business account, unless done really well, usually aren't that personal and aren't going to get as good as results as just a personal name or even a pseudonym or an anonymous name. All right. You talked about pain points and problems as under an overarching umbrella yesterday in relation to a mission-based approach. So in writing, do each of the problems I have solved in my life, part of my founder story, become a series of posts that over time build up to become the umbrella? It definitely can. So for the founder story, I would choose the most impactful, right? You're just creating a story, right? It's just here's one problem. Here's some of the pains I felt because of it, right? This problem led to this pain point, to this pain point, and then eventually it got to the point where I had to change everything, and now I have to do this instead. And so now I'm doing this, and it introduced me to this, so on and so forth. But yes, the pain points are just a bunch of uh, content topics that you can talk about. The more you talk about them, the more you'll start to see which pain points are the most attention grabbing and impactful. And then you can start to talk more about those ones specifically. I've been running a successful one-on-one executive coaching service successfully for 14 years. I have 18K followers on LinkedIn, about 1,500 people on my Kit newsletter. What are some ways I can productize myself? So that's kind of the way what we just talked about. Well, I guess that's the thing is like you create a product, right? Uh, so whatever that could be, there's many different routes like Justin Welsh talked about yesterday, but you kind of just pick one, right? You have one-on-one executive coaching. What's that about? You can turn that into a mega guide, a full course, a full digital product. You can turn that into a cohort. You can turn that into a paid Substack. You can turn that into what else is there? Group coaching. You kind of just productize down based on what you think would work best for your audience and the amount on your newsletter. So you start with one and you try it out. Maybe try an ebook, right? Something super simple. Um, a course. I would go the simplest route first and then build up, right? Start with the ebook. And then if that does well, you test the idea. Then you move it to a course, expand it, then expand it to a cohort. What is a cohort? Kind of like this. Um, or I guess what I think of a cohort-based course online is think of a course, but you only run it for a certain amount of time. So that creates like this baked in scarcity. So you can charge a bit more because you're limiting the amount of people that come in. So rather than you have a course and you sell that all the time, everywhere, in every newsletter, under every YouTube video, every day on social media, a cohort-based course is the same course, but you run through it over maybe a month, 2 months, and you have like calls baked in. Maybe you have a community where people can talk. You just add more value to the course and you run it like it's a semester in college, right? And then you can charge a bit more for that. And since it's scarce and it's only running for a certain amount of time, usually people join more because they can't get it at any other time. So it like demands a certain premium. So you could start with a course, or actually, I recommend start with a cohort-based course because you can charge higher prices and then you don't need as many people to join. And then if that does really well and you don't want to run the cohort anymore, just turn it into a course and boom, that can sell. All right. My 1 year goal is to open a luxury boxing gym. company that offers boxing in an elevated setting for people who want to optimize health and fitness, not just people who want to get in the ring and fight. I want to generate revenue online to fund the first space. How would you teach about what product to build online if the long-term goal is brick and mortar? Good question. I mean, it's kind of what everything we've talked about, right? It doesn't, it can be related to boxing, but I'd recommend talking about health. Maybe talk about why boxing is important, why your unique way of boxing is a great way to get in shape. You, in terms of monetization, you can create a digital product. You can create a training program for boxing specifically. Uh, Maybe look up what other people in the boxing space are doing and just like gauge what kind of products they have and what you could create there. What is the best way to learn the best practices of copywriting? First, start writing. Social media, newsletter, whatever it may be. You're not going to learn if you aren't writing. Create a product, write the landing page. If it sucks, then you kind of have to learn copywriting principles to make it better. But what is it? It's uh, Dickie Bush. He says something like learn just in time, not just in case, right? So you don't learn stuff just in case, you learn them just in time. You do the thing, and then that identifies the knowledge gaps that you have. You're aware of those, and then you can go learn specific knowledge and apply it immediately. So, um, start writing, then start watching YouTube videos on copywriting, then start buying books on copywriting. Doesn't matter which ones, just do the thing, learn about it the entire way, and slowly you'll get better. What's your process to simplifying dense slash complex messages? Um, I write it out first as a newsletter. I write it long form and then I like try to think of ideas that articulate it short form. If something complex can't be simplified beyond a certain amount, then probably post something else to social media. And it's okay if you don't write about the complex thing on social. If an interest doesn't perform well in terms of monetization, how do I know if it's still worth iterating on it or pivot to monetizing another interest entirely? Also, are there interests that just don't do well and are not worth the time? Sometimes I feel like usually it's a skill issue. It depends on the interest, obviously, but the main thing is, are there other people that are making a living from the interest that you want to make a living from? If yes, then there's a way to improve to get to their level and far beyond their level. Um, Usually, when an interest doesn't do well, it's usually because of positioning or not writing the right content, not being persuasive. So you're not talking about pain points. You're not making the thing is anything can sell if it's desirable enough. The thing is you're just not creating the desire for it. You're talking about it, expecting people to become interested in it rather than making people interested in it by talking about the pains they have and the benefits they would get if they started using your interest, right? So something worth studying is persuasion. Do you have advice for pushing past fear of failure or being seen, especially when first starting out? I don't have too much advice. If you've read my newsletters, most of my advice in this regard is like, or at least what I did is I just didn't have any other choice. I gave myself no other choice. If I wanted to be able to, for me, as a young person, not wanting to work a job, uh, if I didn't want to work a job, then I had to do it. Like me working a job, no, I not anti-job, but you know what I mean. For me as a kid, where that was like a strong desire not to do, the fear of me working a job was less greater than the fear of me posting or me reaching out to people for my web design services or whatever it may be. So it's less about overcoming the fear of failure and more so having something you're more afraid of that pushes you to do the thing that will help you get away from that fear. right? I do manage to fill my agenda with consultancy appointments thanks to online writing and in-person communication. I need to work less and make as much or more money. How to get there? Would you automate some of the advice? Not easy. Definitely not easy, but congrats on the full agenda. Since you're writing online, how's your audience growth going? Because the way that I see, at least out of consultancy or appointments, is well, one, you can increase your prices, demand more premium pricing, and take on higher paying clients, but less of them, right? So your agenda isn't so full, but you're making the same amount, probably more. The other thing you can do is productize. So you can turn what you talk about mostly in your consultancy into an ebook, a course, a cohort. You kind of just you increase the scalability of what it is that you're doing by creating a curriculum for it and hosting it somewhere. And then you decrease the amount of time you spend on that by either changing the delivery method of it to something like a cohort. So you're taking on 100 people on a group call instead of one person on one call for a lower price point, but that's 1 hour instead of every day of the week, right? So there's various examples there, but some kind of digital product, cohort, course, whatever it may be, that's usually the next step for consultancy. Should you start without knowing what to sell? I have a vision, but I don't have anything to sell right now. Should I develop an MVP like a planner book or something, or should I not have any products, just build in public? And when I feel like I have something to sell, sell that. It can go either way. I do think there is a lot of value in having something to sell right away because it helps you stay more aligned with the content that you write because now you have a purpose for it, right? As weird as that sounds. Like if I have a web design product, then in order for me to make more sales, then I need to talk about something that can lead into that, whether it's web design or something related to skill acquisition or whatever it may be. So I know that, oh, I don't have ideas to write about today. Well, I can write about this. And it indirectly and directly leads to an income. So, yes, I would recommend having an MVP or something because then like you have accountability and your actions have more gravity because they have the ability to make money now. But at the same time, if you don't know what to sell, I would still start because posting and talking to more people is what's going to help clarify the ideas and what people want that would lead into the idea for your first product. What's the difference using Beehive for a paid newsletter and Substack? What do you use? I use Substack. I used Beehive, but they both do the same thing. They both have monetization tools. You can run a paid newsletter, but Substack actually has an algorithm. So uh, people can find people, the however many people, 50 million plus people that log into Substack every day and scroll on it have the ability to find your newsletters, your posts, etc. So it's you still manually have to promote and grow your newsletter on other platforms, but if you're on Substack, you may have the added benefit of getting picked up in the algorithm and getting more subscribers. So they both do the same thing, but Substack has a cool platform. It'd be awesome to see some behind the scenes YouTube videos, a day in the life of Dan, show collaborating with others, workflow. I do have one. I we go to the gym. I show you what I eat. Other things, I think it's just called like a day in the life of me. Somewhere you can scroll on my YouTube and find it. There's a picture of me shirtless in the thumbnail because we go to the gym. Um, but Matt and Ari are also starting a YouTube channel. They're the co-founders of Cortex and the new software, and I'll be in a few of those videos because I go up to Toronto quite a bit. And those are more vlog documentary style. can you share techniques to reframe technical or woo-woo content? Are there reframes? Um, might be good to have AI give you various variations, like write what the concept is and say, just talk with it for a bit. Hey, how do I ground this a bit more? How do I word this in a way so that other people are more receptive to it? What are three reframe techniques to reframe woo content, right? That could work really well. Where in my mind, I kind of just think through like, what am I actually trying to say in plain language, right? When I get into too much of this spiritual, metaphysical lingo, I'm usually just using language that can be substituted for something else, right? Or if you think metaphorically about it, what are you trying to say? Lots of great info. I currently offer a 2-day workshop that is fairly niche, creating winning sales demos. Interesting. I'm currently working to convert the content to a course to duplicate myself. The last few days have been focused on building a social media audience. Is the best only way, in your opinion, to launch this new product? I think it's the best. If you're asking like, is it the best to launch the product on social media? Yes, but just posting a launch post isn't going to do much, right? From day two yesterday, we talked about making friends, we talked about building a network. Think about it from my lens. When I was at, let's say, 10,000 followers, I could launch to my audience, or I could reach out to the friends I made along the way and just be like, hey guys, I'm building this product. Um, I think it's going to be really cool. I'm pouring a lot of time into it. When I start, would you guys be able to help me boost the launch post? I want to blow this out of the water. And the more people I connect with, then I have 10, 15, 20 people who are ready to launch with me, and they each have their own audiences and so on and so forth. So it can be a lot more strategic. Obviously, the bigger the audience you have, the easier it is to launch a product. But at the start, you can bring your friends together to turn everyone's 5 to 10,000 follower audience into a 300,000 follower audience, right? All together. So, how do I sign up for coaching lessons with me? I apologize, but I do not offer them at the moment. I am one of those busy startup founders now, fancy startup. So I'm just solely focused on that. But that's why I do these. Could you talk a little bit more about a newsletter focused business? Paid newsletter as the main product and then book releases over time. What are the challenges and benefits of this model? Benji, stop, dude. The challenges. So the challenges are one, you're probably going to charge something very low ticket, like $9 a month, 10, 15, $20 a month. It, you're going to need a lot of traffic and a lot of subscribers to sign up for that. And you're going to need a lot of value in the paid newsletter portion itself, right? A lot of people just like write a typical old newsletter and then put a paywall on it and expect people to enjoy that. But it should be treated, I think, a paid newsletter portion should be treated as like one big course that you're adding to over time for one specific purpose. Um, but the thing there is like $9 subscriptions, Substack takes 10%. In order to get to five, $10,000 a month, that's a lot of people. And people are it's a lot more difficult to convert subscriptions than it is flat rates. I would argue that the friction, the amount of people that will pay for a $9 subscription versus a $150 product are the same, right? There's going to be the same amount of friction. The more the subscription goes up, the higher the friction is going to be. But would you rather sell a $150 product a few times and only do the work once to create the course? Or would you rather continue adding to a paid newsletter week after week after week, grinding to get to this certain amount every month and dealing with churn and stagnating, so on and so forth? Um, it can work. Some people do it very well, but I don't know. I would honestly, I would say test it, right? I think it's best to test it either way because you can always just stop doing it and transition into something else. It's painful to do that, but you can absolutely do it. So if that's something that you want to do right now and you have clarity on it, I would recommend going into doing it because all of my challenges and pain points around it may not apply to you and you may like it a lot. So I don't want to discourage that. Dan, could we get into AI and have other Q&A at the end of the session? Oh, could we get into it? Yes, we did that. Is it worth trying to start out with, is it worth trying to start out with trying to monetize that people don't consider a high income skill? What if I want to monetize an interest that I know quite a lot about, but never leverage these skills to make money, make serious money using them, i.e., photography? I don't really see it as a high income skill like copywriting. That's completely fine. Um, Peter McKinnon's business models. Look at other photographers on Instagram. They're selling LUTs, they're selling tutorials, they're selling um, teaching how to do photography. A lot of people get hung up on the, oh, it's not a high income skill problem, but people just want to learn things. That's one thing I've realized is like with writing, that's a skill that can help people. I'm not positioning it, at least into our writer, I wasn't positioning it as like, oh, you can make $100,000 a month writing online. It was like, no, you're learning how to write because that's a skill you can use in other areas of your life. So is photography. Photography may not be a stereotypical high income skill, but if they want, they can freelance with photography. That's on them, but it opens up the opportunity, and that's what people want, right? If your product doesn't provide freelancing knowledge, that's okay. People understand, like, hey, I'm learning photography, but this is going to open up the next route to potentially freelance with it or potentially start editing. Like, there are a lot of opportunities that someone needs to learn photography for. That's where persuasion comes into play. The most persuasive thing in the world isn't like, oh, you can make money with this. It's a persuasive thing, but people learn photography all the time. Go look at Udemy courses or even Skillshare and see how well the photography courses do there. If you can't sell a photography course, that's usually a problem with your messaging or your persuasive ability or your sales or your copywriting or other things of that nature. For beginners who are just figuring out their offer and building a personal brand on LinkedIn, would you advise against having two separate offers? Context. I have a lot of public speaking experience and presentations are a skill I'm naturally strong at. So I figured this is something I can coach, but I am also strongly interested in ghostwriting and offering that on LinkedIn, which with myself as a case study. Do you advise starting off with two different offers like this? I don't recommend starting off with two. Start off with the one that you want to do the most. They're both profitable. I see them work all the time. Public speaking works great. Ghostwriting also works great. Um, you'll probably have more fun teaching public speaking rather than physically doing ghostwriting. I've ran a ghostwriting business. It's hard work. It's draining. All people leave ghostwriting for a reason and do another business model. So if you could just go straight into public speaking, I don't know if you know Joseph Sar on YouTube. Joseph TSAR. He's been going viral just creating YouTube videos on public speaking. And I'm sure he has some kind of coaching product in there and he's probably killing it. So you can use a lot of his content as inspiration to get that off the ground. Oh, hey Jen, what do you feel about using a digital twin for a YouTube video? I'm not sold on it yet. I probably won't. I could see it benefiting people who still write their stuff. Um, I don't know. I'm not really for it. I see Tanya asking Joseph what? It's Joseph Sar, yeah, Tsar. How can I activate extended thinking for Claude and Cortex, or is it already active by default? That's the unfortunate thing. It's not an option in there, but it should work without it on. Dan, do you have a prompt idea that can help us identify our core story or ways to articulate our experience that are relevant to other types of growth and authority content you mentioned earlier? Yeah, that one's probably pretty easy. Type in, so create great pro paste the prompt creator prompt, the Google Doc, into AI and just say, I want to create a prompt that interviews me to uncover my core story for creating authoritative and growth-oriented content. The output should be the a document with my core story. Like as simple as that. I mean, you don't even need the prompt for that, right? You could probably just ask AI because storytelling in general is like ask AI, okay, are all the what are the most compelling parts of a founder story? Then you have the list of instructions. Then you can say, okay, what do you need for me in order to identify my founder story? And then it spits that out. And you say, okay, can you interview me right now to come up with my founder story? And then it interviews you and you say, can you spit all of this out in one document? And then boom, you have it. Could you please bullet the AI prompt steps into the email? Yep, I can do that. The slides will also be in there if you want to just skim through those. Can you share those prompts? Yes, I can. I'll do that. I'm starting a beta test for a 52-week asynchronous mentorship program fully delivered through email. Interesting. Sort of selling accountability for fellow freelance email marketers. How do I funnel traffic to this offer? I mean, just like you'd funnel traffic to any other offer. You write the content, you promote the offer. The better the content, the more it leads into the offer, the more people are going to click. If it's more high ticket, then you may have to get people to DM you or send them to a landing page or whatever it may be to get people into that. But yeah. For building a personal brand via personal name, do you have any pro tips in regards to privacy concerns, considering that we are opening ourselves and maybe our full names up to the weirdness of the entire internet? Uh, I mean, I use a pseudonym, but it doesn't really matter because you can find my real name with a Google search. My real name's Daniel Koenigslieb. Co is just like shortened. So you could do that if you want, but you're already online. Everyone already knows all about you. Even if you're super private, I sound, I don't know. There isn't really a way around it, but I also don't think it's as prevalent as it seems. Because yeah, most people aren't going to reach the stage where they're under direct threat, and they're usually not going to say the things that put them under direct threat. Uh, I've had my weird share of people, but kind of just block them. A few years ago, I wrote a 100-page ebook about my unique mindset and tools to learn Spanish after I struggled a lot with traditional education and then dropped out of university to travel and learn through immersion. I haven't created a lot of content yet for my personal brand, but I realized I already did a lot of heavy lifting. Yep. Would you recommend using this ebook as a lead magnet or your Magnus Opus example that you gave, or trying to self-publish and sell it? Either or. If you're not trying. You don't have to. mm, it can go either way. Like it's your decision ultimately. You could condense it a bit because that is kind of long. Um, you could turn a summary of it, a very impactful summary, into your mag magnum opus, and then self-publish it if you want through Amazon KDP or sell the digital copy. Am I correct in thinking of this creator path? At its core, the creator economy is just humans using new tools to meet our oldest need, finding, creating a tribe, and exchanging trust. That's the way that I like to think about it. Yeah. It's pretty cool. When you like start thinking about it that way, you're literally, it's like you start off in the digital world and you need to find your little tribe, and then you just grow together, you trade with each other. You kind of in this little bubble of people who are buying your products, you're buying theirs. It's cool. Dan, is Discord still the primary platform for the Cortex community to connect, or is it now Substack? Are you planning to change this? We're planning to change it. Um, right now, it's still Discord. The mods are pretty active in there, uh, but we just have so much that we have to organize and orchestrate in terms of getting the right information out with the new version of the app and so on and so forth. So things will change a bit, but right now it's still Cord. I mean, Discord. What would you feel would be more beneficial to learning how to grow and run an online business as a new startup, YouTube, or investing into a business mentorship? If so, would you suggest anyone? It depends what kind of online business. If you're trying to do like the service-based business or even product-based business, the person I would recommend is just JK Molina, the guy who came on day one. So you can reach out to him if you'd like. But aside from that, I mean, YouTube, always worth learning. You should probably be doing that whether you go with a mentor or not. But it really depends. It's like I said with the copywriting example, is you just start building it. You learn just in time, not just in case. You don't start learning and then start doing and then waste a lot of what you learn. You start building, even though you're maybe afraid to. Most people are. It's okay. But then you learn along the way and you apply the strategies as you go. If you can't apply what you're learning, then you're not learning it. Any thoughts on starting a school community? Same thing as Circle. Um, it's a community. It's a recurring membership. It can work. They can all work, right? Uh, depends. Test it out. Try it. What is the name of the Cortex replacement product? And do you have a timeline for release? Looks awesome. It's going to be called Eden, like the Garden of Eden, a garden for your knowledge. But it is, and that's kind of the thing. Our whole mission or manifesto is that we're trying to create more artisans rather than factories, gardeners over factories, like content factories. We're trying to create more, yeah. Uh, timeline for release, we're aiming for timelines are always super hard with software. We're aiming for early next month to roll out to Cortex users, those who want it right now, because we're going to roll out web only. We were going to roll out everything, desktop, mobile, etc., all at once, but I feel like it just makes more sense to get it into people's hands as soon as possible. So we're going to be like, hey, this stuff is coming. If you want the web only version, it'll probably be available October, very early October. So if you use Cortex, then you'll get an email for that. It'll be super easy to migrate documents over to test it. How did you get Meta verified to approve a pseudonym? Doesn't your name? I don't know. I actually have no idea how I got verified, but yeah, it doesn't match my ID and I still got verified. I think they just wanted the money. It's like what, 99? It's a lot. If you could give the most valuable piece of advice to yourself 10 years ago, what would it be? Fuck up a lot, which is kind of what I did. But yeah, mistakes, greatest pivot or pivot all the time, trial and error. What you are so excited and obsessed with right now, you're probably not even going to care about in 6 months. And so just do things. Nike has a great quote. Just do it. Okay. Do we need to make any changes to everything we are learning here to apply for a combination of mid-price services, one-on-one executive coaching for C-suite leaders, and higher price services? I mean, I would make changes accordingly, right? Depending on who you want it to be targeted towards. Usually, the offer ladder, the value ladder follows like beginner, what you need to know, intermediate. Okay, you learn the beginner stuff. Now you're here. Intermediate goes to advanced. The advanced is like the executive coaching for C-suite leaders. The other products are education to create the people who are ready for that. Okay. Hey Dan, I have a extensive experience and insight into the dynamic of business partners as I've created multiple successful companies with different partners across varied backgrounds. I know that I can provide specific and valuable insight into business partner dynamics and have identified certain truths that can only be found with experience and focused reflection. What do you think the biggest challenge would be in trying to get into this niche? The biggest challenge in getting into that niche is not using that language. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but like go for a pain point language. Like play around with pain points and desired outcomes for teams, for the thing about like you need to speak the language that they resonate with and like dynamic of business partners doesn't really get much across. So what's like the real pain point you're solving? And then being able to focus solely on that and attracting the right people is going to be the biggest challenge because it's difficult to articulate the value of something like a dynamic of business partners. So you need to find like a very painful problem relating to that. Like what problems does it cause in the business? And then can you illustrate that in a way so that people desire fixing that dynamic? Would you advise starting in my own language for creating content, easier to grow but less profitable, then switch to English? Um, I don't know. I don't know if I can answer that because I don't have experience, but from people I know who have answered that question, they usually just say just start in English. Jose Rosado learned English as he was started writing online. Dan, will the app skills learning Cortex transfer to Eden? Yes, definitely. There will be so I can't wait for Eden to come out. So a lot of you like in Cortex, you can paste YouTube links and it'll transcribe and you can reference it. Like you can barely, I don't think you can do that in many other apps, but we're really working on that. You can now, well, one, we're merging library and the documents, right? So the library isn't just a place for highlights anymore. It's that's where you store YouTube videos. The YouTube videos are actually downloaded, so you can watch them offline. So YouTube videos are downloaded. You can paste Instagram reel links. It transcribes them. You can paste Instagram carousels. It's all shown inside of there. You can paste tweets. You can paste threads. You can paste Substack notes, newsletters, articles, so on and so forth. And you have all of this in your quote unquote second brain. Then you can connect them all in a canvas, reference them with AI. You still have notes in there. It's just like literally anything, any piece of content can be transcribed, downloaded, uploaded into there. So yeah, I'm very excited. Do you have any experience in high ticket selling to other entrepreneurs over YouTube? Not over YouTube, but I would think is just creating a video for them, having the top of funnel in the description, telling people to go to that. That's what I think most people do. Usually like a questionnaire or some kind of simple landing page that talks about what you do, get them on a call or have them DM you or something of that nature. Dan, not a question, but from the Art of Focus, your quote, I can think of nothing more worthwhile pursuing than seeing what you're capable of. It lives on my wall and is my inspiration to get up every time. Thank you, man. That's awesome. I I'm not gonna lie, I felt pretty good writing that tweet. I'm like, damn, yeah, that hits. So I'm glad it hit. Will the functionality of Readwise, will it still connect with Eden? We're working on that because we're not sure how the highlights will display. Um, they'll be transferred over easily from Cortex, but in terms of like integrating, we're going to have our own highlight feature and we're going to be able to have more functionality than Readwise down the road. Um, oh, you just paid for that? Don't worry. In terms of annual plan and everything, it'll transfer over fine. You'll actually pay less, so it'll be good. Eden will be replacing Cortex as a lifetime member of Cortex. I'm curious. Oh, you'll have lifetime access. Don't worry. Trust me when I say anyone here who's a Cortex user, you will be thoroughly rewarded for your patience with us. And yeah, I would not worry about anything related to that. In Cortex/Eden, what security and confidentiality level applies to our piece of content? I'm an attorney, and I could be excluded from the profession if anyone else, including the founders or IT of Cortex, could access my files. If you can address that. Yeah, it's going to be similar to Cortex. So inside of Cortex right now, we have a permission button. So the only time that we would ever need to access your files in the first place is if you have a support issue that requires it. We try to, it will tell you if we need to actually go in to see anything, but otherwise, it's completely locked off from us, and you have to physically go in and press the button to give us support access in order to go in and see the specific document that you're telling us to see. So, yeah, it's all locked down. The thing there is it's not going to be SOC 2 compliant or whatever the cybersecurity thing that you need to get is that most companies don't get until a few years down the road. We're going to have to be working on that the entire time. But in terms of general security, the very secure, top of the line, aside from SOC 2. Is there any use case or reason to use both Cortex and Notion? Project management inside of Notion. I don't think they're going to be beaten on that. I don't think people are going to try to compete with them on that aside from the project management companies. But in terms of note taking and storing knowledge, there are definitely better ways to go about it. But yeah, usually project management is, we still use Notion for project management. So yeah, there's that. Okay, we ran through the questions, 12:46, almost 3 hours. Last question. Will Eden replace the need for Claude? Potentially. I think it will. It won't have artifacts, but you'll be able to chat with any model inside of there. So it should. I believe it will do more than Claude because you can reference any kind of content inside of it, and you'll see what the Canvas feature looks like. It's going to be really cool. I know I'm teasing a lot, but it'll come, and it's very exciting. So I hope you guys enjoyed all of that. This is We're 3 hours in. I hope that was useful. Same thing as yesterday. I'll send an email with make sure you check your spam. I'll send all the prompts. I'll send the things that we talked about, the slides, the recording, so much, all of that. Thank you guys for the thank yous. Uh, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'll see you on the internet. Bittersweet goodbyes. Thank you again. Bye, guys.